Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface. Now, a few days ago, I brought you a video on the beginner's guide to Final Fantasy XIV, a starting point for brand new players. Today, I'm going to bring you a beginner's guide to professions in Final Fantasy XIV, and this is part one of a two-part series, and this is going to deal with the gathering side of professions. Part two would deal with the crafting side. So you may be wondering, if this is a video on gathering, why am I starting it off running in my gladiator's gear with a sword and shield, clearly doing a level 10 quest? Well, you see, in Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn, you can't even unlock professions until you've completed the level 10 class quest for whichever class you selected, whether it's the Arcanist or the Gladiator or the Pugilist, etc, etc. So only then, after you have completed this, will you have the ability and the option to open up the gathering and also the crafting abilities. And Final Fantasy differs in a lot of ways from other MMORPGs because your singular character can do every single gathering, every single crafting profession, and of course be every single job and class that the game has to offer. The way that it operates is by simply switching out the main weapon for the weapon of that class or the tool of that trade. So with that said, it's time to get our first gathering profession, and there are three professions for gathering in the game. There is mining, there is botany, and there is also fishing. And each of these separate gathering professions are put in a different city. Uldar, where I'm based now, is the home of the Miners Guild. Gridania is where you can pick up botany, and Limsa Laminsa is where you can pick up fishing. And to pick up the profession itself, you just have to go to the guild receptionist. After you've completed that level 10 class quest, they'll have a very small quest for you, simply taking you to the guild master of whichever guild you're wishing to join, and then they'll be able to provide you with the main tool of that trade. For instance, with mining, you get yourself a pickaxe to start off with. With botany, you get yourself an axe to start chopping, and with fishing, well, you get yourself a fishing rod, but I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. So as I just finish off here with the guild master, get myself 100 experience points, and more importantly, get myself the pickaxe for the mining profession, before I equip it and start my journey, I have to do something else. And this is more for convenience, but trust me, you will want to do this. This is my character screen. You bring it up by pressing the C button. Just above the weapon, you'll notice there appears to be something which looks like an A4 sheet of paper. This is how we can save gear sets and save how each of our different classes look. So click onto there, and then in the top left hand corner you'll see a plus symbol. Click that. You have now saved your gladiator class as is, and that means it's saved its weapon, its armor, and everything like that. So you're going to be able to hotkey this. You're going to be able to immediately switch between these classes and get equipped straight away. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the weapon section. This is what, of course, changes what profession or job you do. Go to the pickaxe, right click, and equip it. So this is what my character is now. They are a level 1 miner. For the sake of modesty, I've decided to put my character back in her starting clothes. So what I'm going to do now is go back to the gear set list, go to that plus button in the top left again, click it, and now I've got mining, which is in my second gear slot, and it's got an item level of 2. Whoop-de-doo. So, if I want to switch between these different professions or classes now, all I have to do is click onto the one I want and equip set, and hey presto, it immediately does that. So this is a very convenient way to jump between professions and classes really, really quickly indeed. Now, if you find a new piece of equipment which you want to put on the respective class, like this headset, you don't have to create a new gear set. You just go to this button in the top right and update the gear set that you're currently on. So if I click that now, it's going to save that new headpiece which I've just popped on. If I jump back to the mining set and then off to the gladiator set, there it is. You see, it's still got that saved piece of equipment. So once more, if you ever find something new out in the field that's going to boost your class, equip it and then update your gear set, and that will make things so much easier for you when you're out in the world. So now that we've got our pickaxe equipped, let's go to our guild master. They'll have a quest waiting for us, and as a reward you can actually get a physical wearable piece of equipment, because professions in Final Fantasy XIV are treated very seriously indeed, and you can kit out your character from head to toe. And they operate off two major statistics. The gathering, which is how efficient you are actually collecting the items which you're going for, and perception, which we don't have to go into in this video, but that is actually going to reflect the quality of the item that you can get. But that will come in a later video at a later time. So we accept the quest and we're going to head out into the world and start our gathering. So here I am outside, and as a level 1 miner, I only have one ability available to me, which I've squirreled away over on the right hand side here. And the reason why I've put it out of the way is because Prospect is a passive ability, not an active ability. So if I just click it once, I suddenly get a buff which appears on my character that will stay as long as I'm in my mining spec. And this will allow me to see mineral deposits and rocky outcrops where I can mine from. Also, it shows up on the mini-map. You notice these small pickaxes where the mineral deposits physically are as well, so it's very easy for me to identify where to go. So when I go and click onto one of the mineral deposits, suddenly it brings up what appears to be a menu screen with various items on them. We've got some muddy water, we've got copper ore, we've got wind shards, and finally lightning shards. And next to them there is a percentage figure. This percentage figure is the percentage success rate that we have of managing to get the item. So with the muddy water, for example, I've only got a 56% chance of being able to mine it. But the copper ore, which I need for the quest that the Guildmaster gave me, I have an 87% chance of being able to mine them. And then all I have to do now is just physically click on to the item that I want to mine, and my character will do so. Now, mineral deposits don't stay forever. They have a finite usage, and these ones, these starting ones, will allow me to mine from them 4 times. And you can see here in the top the actual physical bar going down the more I mine. When that bar empties and goes all black, it means that that mineral deposit has been exhausted. Now, so far, so good. I've had 8 bites of the cherry and I've managed to get 8 pieces of copper ore. But do bear in mind, because the percentage rate is 87, I do have a 13% chance of actually failing. So if I fail, so if I was to mine and nothing happened, it said you got nothing from this, I would get 0 experience points from that attempt. Whereas if I'm successful, you notice there is experience points that start to appear. Also, if you manage to chain successful attempts together, then you get yourself a little bit of extra EXP. To start with, it's only a point or 2, but later on, when you're further into mining, it becomes a lot better. Now, I've just dinged level 2, and the copper ore has now gone to a successful rate chance of 88%, but look, I failed. I had an attempt and nothing happened. I didn't get any items whatsoever. And if that happens, it breaks the chain. So if I had done 2 successful attempts and managed to get a small chain going and then suddenly failed, the chain would have to start from scratch again. So head on over back to the Guildmaster, complete the quest, get yourself that little bit of gil and a little bit of experience, but more importantly, you now have that chest piece which had the gathering stats on it. So open up your inventory, click onto your chest area, not hands, and then there you go. You can now pop this piece on. So your gathering, it's not about protection. It's not about magic protection, physical protection. It's all about getting these gathering stats. And suddenly you've gone from 22 up to 35. And of course, remember to save your set. So if you do need to change back to your regular fighting gear, it can be really, really quick indeed. So let's return to those mineral deposits where I was doing the quest line with this piece of equipment attached to see exactly the effect that it's had. Well, the copper ore, when I left, had an 88% chance of being successfully mined because I did ding to level 2, remember. Now that's gone up to 96 with just that single piece of equipment. So you can see how much equipment can affect success rates when you're at mineral deposits. Also, from here on in, your guildmaster is going to give you quests in increments of 5. So it's going to be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, etc, etc. So you have to independently level your character from here. So, I go round a few nodes and I get to level 3. I suddenly have a new ability which is called Lay of the Land. And this is going to point me to mineral deposits in case I'm in an area where I don't see any on my minimap. So I purposely positioned myself in the middle of nowhere. On my minimap, I do have Prospect active, but my minimap is showing nothing. So if I was to click onto Lay of the Land, what it would do is it would suddenly tell me where a mineral deposit was. So it says it's 169 yards to the northeast, and suddenly my minimap also begins to flash in the direction of these mineral deposits. So you can just run towards where it flashes. It's on a short cooldown of about 20 seconds, so if you forget where it is, click it again, suddenly it flashes up again, and then you can go to the area. In this case, it's going to be a new area for us to mine some additional pieces. So I stuck around this area and I've been mining away and got myself now to level 4. We have another new ability, and this one I've kept on my number 1 key because it's going to be very important. It's called Sharp Vision. Now, it costs 50 GP to use. Now, this is your GP bar right here. It replaces the mana bar when you're in a gathering profession, and it just operates as mana. If I use it, it will go down by 50, so that 400 will become 350. But what Sharp Vision does is increases the gathering percentage of that mineral deposit by 5%, and that's for the whole time. So that's all 4 of the smacks that I've had so far. So bearing in mind that when I first started mining, the copper ore was an 87% chance. If I'd had that active, it would be a 92% chance. So let's just put it into action now. You see these bone chips? They're 83%. So I've probably got a 4 in 5 chance of actually getting one. But I hit Sharp Vision, it goes up to 88. So now I'm just tipping the scales to my advantage. So now, suddenly from 4 in 5, it's really going to 9 in 10 chances of being able to get these bone chips. So there we go. So this is the level 1 version of it. Is very, very helpful indeed to allow you to continuously mine, because remember, you start putting those chains together, you get additional experience points for doing so. So I use that now to push me through to level 5, and at level 5 I get a very similar looking ability, and this is actually Sharp Vision 2. Now it costs twice as much, it costs 100 GP to use, but it increases the gathering percentage by 15, which is absolutely massive. So if I was to go to the mineral deposit behind me, currently bone chips are 88% chance of being gathered, but I use Sharp Vision 2, it goes to 100% because that 15% bonus. So I cannot fail now when I'm hitting these bone chips, which means I will always get a chain of 3, which just gives me those extra little pieces of experience to level up mining. And because we've hit level 5, don't forget to return back to the guild master of the gathering profession that you're doing and get the level 5 quest, because as you can see here, not only am I going to get a pickaxe upgrade, but I can also select select another piece of gear to help me. And bearing in mind how much just the chest piece at the start helped, you know, legs, gloves, whichever one you decide to choose, is definitely going to push your character's percentage rates up and allow for more successful gathering, which means quicker leveling. Now, every 5 levels, you'll be able to see higher grade mineral deposits. But when I say every 5 levels, it's 5 levels from level 1. So in actual fact, it means going from level 1 to level 6, and then from level 6 to level 11, and then from level 11 to level 16, etc. And instead of a level 5 mineral deposit, you'll see a level 10 mineral deposit, and then a level 15 mineral deposit, etc, etc. So you won't be able to see them at 5, 10, 15, 20. It will be 6, 11, 16, 21, etc, etc. Now let's say you needed an item which you've mined in-game but forgot where you got it from. Don't panic. If you go down to the bottom here, one of the tabs is called a logs tab, and if you go up, you'll see that the gathering tab is available. Click onto it and it will show you every single item that you've actually managed to find in-game so far through mining. Not only that, but it will show you on the right hand side the physical location of the area as well. So if I was to click onto it like so, it brings up the exact spot on the map, not just the area, the exact physical spot on the map where you actually discovered those items. If I was to go there to the Spineless Basin, boosh, there we go, Thanalan, Central Thanalan, Spineless Basin. So you can identify immediately where you need to go to mine those materials. So moving things on to level 10, I'm picking up the quest from my guildmaster, and you'll notice that when we complete it, we'll get ourselves a sledgehammer that's equipable at level 11. Now this is a secondary tool as opposed to the primary tool, which is the pickaxe, and that'll allow us to quarry items. And you'll notice that the other pieces, they have perception on them, and although I haven't gone too much into perception, as I mentioned before, this will actually affect the quality of the items which you mine. So instead of just regular copper ore, the higher your perception, the more chance you'll have of actually getting some high quality copper ore. So let's head out to the area where it wants us to mine these 99 pieces, and I'll go into why that's so high in a moment. But first, getting to the mineral deposit, you'll notice that there is an unknown item with a base discovery rate of 25%. So going from level 5 to level 10, Sharp Vision has unlocked a third version of itself, which is 250 GP to use, but it will increase the percentage chance by 50, which is massive. So let's use that, which takes the unknown item to 75%. I fail on the first, but second time I get it. And this is the item which we need to complete this quest. And you'll also notice I picked up another ability, which is stealth, and I'll show that in action a little bit later. So why 99? Does that seem very excessive? Well, remember what I was just talking about before, about higher nodes being opened up in increments of 5, but it's 5 from your starting level. So instead of being level 5, 10, 15, 20, it's actually 6, 11, 16, 21, etc. So completing this quest by getting these 99 items, that would actually take you nigh on, if not over, level 10 to level 11. So when you do hand the quest in and you do get the sledgehammer, you can immediately equip it, and level 15 mineral deposits and rocky outcrops will be available for you to immediately see. So there is a reason and a method behind this grind. And just to confirm that, I've handed in the quest, and look, I'm level 11 and about 23% of the way through to level 12. Yes, I'm wearing an item which gives me a 20% EXP boost, but if I was to take that 20% off, I still would have just crept over level 11. And that sledgehammer, being a fresh new item, has a serious impact on our gathering stats, which is excellent. Now let's be honest with each other here. If the only way to level up crafting was by mining mineral deposits, hitting rocky outcrops with our sledgehammer and getting one quest every 5 levels, that would be pretty darn dull, let's face it. So one of the beauties about Final Fantasy XIV is it actually adds additional ways for you to level up your gathering, your crafting, as well as your regular job, and it's through leaf quests. So what I highly recommend is staying on top of your main storyline quest line, your main class quest line, while at the same time doing your gathering, because to open up leaf quests you have to be in your main class spec. So in my case it means Gladiator. So I'm being sent off to this place, Horizon, and I have to do a couple of quests, not many, but once they have been completed, it will open up the ability for me to do leafs. So with that done, I can switch out of my class gear and back into my gathering gear. From there, I speak to the respective leaf meet. Yes, that is how you pronounce it, in whichever town I'm in, and then you'll see that it's opened up 3 different types of leaves: Battlecraft, Fieldcraft, and also Tradecraft. Now, Fieldcraft is the one that we want. Botany, mining, fishing, they're all fieldcraft professions. And I have 2 level 10 leafs available to me right now. And at the bottom, you'll notice that I have an allowance of leaf quests, currently at 31. Yeah, you don't get an infinite amount of leaves. You can't just constantly level up through this method. You will have a baseline of allowance given to you, and then when I complete one of these leafs, it will knock it off the allowance. Don't panic though, you get 3 leaf allowances every 12 hours, so that's 6 per day. And where you need to go is shown off by these green circles on your map, so you won't have any trouble locating them. When you get to the location, you need to activate the leaf. So you can see which leaf it is by just going over the mini-map, select the quest there, and then press the initiate button. That will allow you to start the leaf. But before you start, you have the option to make it easier or more difficult. The more difficult it is, the greater the experience reward. The easier it is, the lower, etc. So I'm going to put it up as high as I possibly can because I'm a man, and then I will confirm and start the leaf. Suddenly, the required nodes for the leaf materialize, and I can get on with hammering away. Different leafs have different criteria, but they're all up against the clock. But a word of warning here, it's better to be safe than sorry, and it's better to be safe than quick. So although you're up against the clock, sometimes it's actually worthwhile to take a bit of time just to wait for the GP to recover, so you can maybe use one of your good abilities to increase the percentage chance of actually getting the items. For example, this leaf that I'm doing here, I get points depending on which item I mine. And over on the right hand side, you can see that based on the number of total points I get, I could actually get some serious EXP modifiers. Now currently I'm on 279 points, however, there were only 8 total mineral deposits for me to mine, and I'm down to my last one. So I take a step back and I let my GP come back till I have over 250. I then use my big spell, which gives me the additional 50% chance while gathering, and I can smash all the way through now and get over that 320 points, which will give me a plus 25% EXP modifier when I hand the quest in. So returning to the leaf meet, I go to collect reward. I have the 25% modifier plus the difficulty modifier. Look at this. I'm racking up nearly 9,500 experience points by doing this leaf alone. So that takes me about 3/4 of the way through the level. I got a huge amount. But not every leaf rewards so generously. So let's go to the location of the second leaf that I picked up. And there's something else about this area, never mind the reward. You see, these mobs are aggressive. They have the red triangle around the yellow mask. If I was to get near them, they would attempt to attack me. So this is where your stealth button comes into effect. Remember that I mentioned it earlier. And when you stealth yourself, it will allow you to walk. And when I say walk, I mean walk. You can't run, but it will allow you to walk undisturbed through aggressive areas. And if you wanted to remove the stealth from you, you would simply have to hit the stealth button a second time and then it would fall off. So I can now get on with this leaf without fear of being attacked. Upon completion, I return back to the leaf meet, but when I hand this one in, my bonus is only 1,650 odd. Yes, I didn't put it up to the full level of difficulty, but even if I had, it still wouldn't have been anywhere near the 5,000 plus that I got from the first one. So you can attempt here to either be shrewd with your leaf allowances, find out which are the quests which offer those huge rewards and do only them, or you can just smash through your leaves and get as many done as possible, and it will still level you up pretty darn quickly. So there we go with mining. I think there's enough there for a beginner miner to really get their teeth sunk into. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to have a change of location. I'm heading on over to Gridania and we're going to have a look at the Botanist Guild. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, make sure that you stay on top of your main storyline mission, because as a brand new player to Final Fantasy XIV, you will not be able to get to Gridania if you didn't start here unless you go on an airship. And at level 15, the main storyline mission is to go on an airship and visit all the major capital cities. And of course, when you're there, you can attune yourself through the Ether Shard, and that way you can fast travel between each at your leisure. Now, some good news about botany: we don't have to dwell too much on this, and the reason why is because it's pretty much identical to mining. You have the same stats, gathering and perception, you wear the same gear, so even if you have some gear from maybe fishing or mining, you can equip it straight away. Yes, you have different main tool, and yes, you have a different secondary tool when you eventually get to level 10 and do that quest, but it operates off a very similar system indeed. For example, instead of having prospect, you have triangulate, and by clicking that, it puts the constant buff on you that will allow you to see which trees you're able to cut down. And then once you right click onto one of those trees, you can see all the items available for you to gather, plus the percentage rate chance you have of successfully managing to get them. Jumping over to level 5, and you'll notice that I've got some abilities, and these operate again very much like the mining one. You have the Arbor Call, which will allow you to identify where stuff is, and Field Mastery 1 and 2, which increase the percentage chance success rate of gathering. So I think if you've got to grips with mining, you're not going to have much difficulty getting to grips with botany, because essentially they're the same. So our final port of call, and maybe there is a bad pun intended there, I'm sorry, is Limsa Laminsa and the Fisherman's Guild. So again, you just go up to the reception, you'll be able to acquire the starting quest line, which gives you the main tool, which is a fishing rod, plus in this case, bait, because you are going to require bait for fishing, and then stuff starts off as normal. You'll get a quest at level 1, and then quests at 5, 10, 15, 20, etc, etc. But fishing works differently from botany and mining. So starting rules apply. You would equip the fishing rod and then put whatever gathering gear you've managed to acquire along the way, and then save it as a separate set away from everything else. Now with fishing, unlike the other two gathering professions, we start with 5 abilities. The first one being bait, where we stick some bait and select it, put it on the edge of our fishing rod. You can see that you've done it by the green tick in the bottom left. Cast, we'll cast our line out into the water. Hook is when we've got a bite and you hit your hook to try and reel it in. quit if you just want to stop fishing full stop, and then finally we've got cast light, which just puts a little illuminating green glow on the end of your fishing rod, which could be useful at night time or to attract certain types of fish. So there you go, just popped it on now. So what we're going to do now after I've cast is just to wait to see if we get a bite, and we can tell by the way that our rod will suddenly start going ape as it is now. So quickly, you press the hook ability now and you'll bring in whatever wonders you've found, which in my case is some kelp, which I've probably dragged in from the bottom of the sea. Now, let's go back down to the bottom here and go to our logs and the fishing log, because with the fishing log you can actually select all the different areas where you're able to fish, all the different regions, plus how many fish can actually be found in those locations. And not only that, how many areas within those locations you can actually fish in. So there is tons of depth when it comes to this, and I've got to say I absolutely adore fishing in Final Fantasy XIV. And as you would expect, the quests that you get from the Guildmaster are to actually acquire certain types or certain qualities of fish in these different regions. Different fish require different conditions with which to be caught, but from a beginner's perspective, it shouldn't be any more difficult than just changing the lure or the bait that you have attached to your line. So when you're handing and collecting quests from the Guildmaster, pay close attention to what he's saying to you, because he will often give you the person and location of an NPC where you can purchase the bait and the lure with which to catch the fish that he wants for you to complete the quest line. And then when you attach on top of that things like you get experience not just based on the fish, but whether or not it was a personal best catch. Yes, each catch that you get is actually measured. It can lead to something which is rather addictive, especially when you leave the capital city and start to go out into the surrounding areas. So to sum up really, gathering is a great way not only to get resources that are going to be utilised for potentially your crafting classes, but as a really good way to make money for people that don't want to do this. You pop your materials up on the auction house and they can sell for a good old price and net you a lot of in-game gil. And on top of that, there's so much care and effort put into making these things feel unique and have so much depth that this is definitely another level of gameplay to people who don't want to get bogged down constantly by combat. So there we go, there's my beginner's guide to gathering within Final Fantasy XIV, and I really do hope that it's given you plenty of hints and tips and know-how with which to start what could at first glance be looked at rather a daunting prospect. And if you enjoyed the vid, please do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description down below, and I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care everybody, bye bye.